Most of you who are concerning yourselves with immigration, especially in America, have encountered the melting pot argument. These people who are pro-mass migration will say that America, but increasingly also Europe, is a melting pot of all the people in the world. That is what made America so great. But what if I told you that this concept was made up by a Jewish person who was a close associate of Theodor Herzl, the founder of Zionism? But let's start from the beginning. What even is a melting pot? The melting pot is quite a simple metaphor. Imagine you have a pot and you put different metals into it. As you heat the pot, the different metals melt and start creating an alloy that looks like one metal. E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. This is a representation of the United States. So much so that it is the official motto of the United States. You have different cultures and different peoples coming to America, and then they melt into the American society through assimilation, while bringing in some of their characteristics with them. So if you put a little bit of gold into a copper-silver alloy, the alloy won't become golden, but the properties will change and the gold melts right into the new alloy and becomes a part of it. So I'll give you an example. When Italians came to the US didn't become Italian, but the US changed and the Italians became American. But where did this metaphor come from? While this metaphor existed since the 1800s, it really became popular and clearly defined in 1908, when Israel Zangwill released his play The Melting Pot. In the play, a Russian Jewish family comes to America and the main character composes the American Symphony. In the symphony, he describes his utopia of an American society where there are no ethnic divisions. He hopes for a world in which all ethnicity has melted away. Okay, so when I started looking into it, I thought it wasn't all that bad. I read that it was just about America and that it mainly applied to European and Jewish cultures melting together in the United States. And I would have agreed to some extent, since America is exactly that. America is a melting pot of all the European societies and people. So when I heard this version of the story, it did make sense, and it wasn't so weird to include Jews, since they play some part in modern American culture. By the way, I disagree with this notion that Jews were a part of the original American melting pot. But what changed my mind is when I dug deeper and I found out that it wasn't just about Jews and Europeans. In the play, he includes the black and yellow races, and he also mentions a place where all nations and races come together to worship. And this is where the problems arise. You want to call America a melting pot for Europeans and Jews? Fine. But why would you include all the nations and races? And why would you hope for a world? Not America, but a world in which all ethnicity has melted away. Who would want such a world? What kind of author wishes for such a sick concept? The author Israel Zangwill is a British Jew coming from a family of Russian immigrants. He was at the forefront of Zionism and a close associate of Theodor Herzl, who was the father of Zionism. Israel Zangwill dedicated his life to the people he considered oppressed, mainly Jews, but also women. And doesn't that tell you everything you need to know? A Zionist wants to do genocide? Because what else would you call it? He literally wishes for a world where ethnicity has melted away. In other words, he wants to strip us of our ethnicity and our culture. Is that not a genocide? But I have to give credit where it is due. He was being inclusive by applying it to all nations and people. So I guess he wants a genocide of all ethnicities. I don't know if that is better though. Because this has already happened, and leftists mourn and condemn it. Do you want to know the real melting pot? Just go south of the border. Everything from Mexico down to South America, with some exceptions, is a melting pot. First of all, there are no ethnic or linguistic divisions for the most part. A Mexican and Colombian are exactly the same. They look the same and they speak the same language. I mean, sure, there are some cultural differences, but it is like this gif. And what happened to Latin America is the same thing which is currently happening in all white countries. You had various indigenous peoples, then the Europeans, the invaders, arrived, they fought, the Europeans won, and they mixed with the indigenous people. That is why Latinos have so much European DNA. Even in the most rural, tribal village, they all have some European DNA. There's even a video of some Latino leftists taking a DNA test, and they found that they are all like 40% European. But it's not just Europeans. Most of them also have Middle Eastern and African DNA. You can perfectly see it in a country like Brazil, where most people are these mixed people with European, indigenous and African DNA, but you still have these other people living there. Just look at the football players from Brazil's national team. Vinicius Jr., David Luiz, Alisson, Pelé or Endrick. So we already have a melting pot, where all the nations and races melted together. So why do we need to make the entire world a melting pot? You want to live in a melting pot? Go to Mexico. And it is the same people who promote this concept that are actually the first people to complain about the creation of the first melting pot in Latin America. Because what made Latin America a melting pot? Invasions, colonialism and slavery. How is this different from mass migration? Illegal immigration is the invasion and legal immigration is slavery, and together it is colonialism. It's the exact same thing, just a little bit different. The invasion is self-evident, but I think I need to elaborate on the other 2 points. Do you know why slaves were used? Because they were a cheap workforce. And the exact same thing is happening today with all these big companies. They don't hire the natives. They hire Indians, Mexicans and Africans because they are a cheaper workforce. Do you see the similarities to slavery? And it's also colonialism, but you can see this in 2 ways. First is the European colonialism. We are taking the resources of these third world countries, but this time it's not the land but the people. We are taking the most capable people from India. These companies aren't usually hiring random Indians from villages. They are hiring the best of the best. So we are literally exploiting them again. The second way is third world colonialism, which is less common and happens especially in Europe. Because there is a significant portion of immigrants who don't work and just take our resources. And if this is happening by the millions, then what else do you call it? Leftists are the first to criticize these things in the past, but they are the first ones who support it right now. It is the same thing happening all over again, just at a different place and with different people. So America is a melting pot. You admitted that yourself at the beginning. They even have E pluribus unum as their official motto since their founding. No, you just have no idea of history. The founding fathers were all English. E pluribus unum doesn't apply to people or cultures. Do you know what it applies to? Look at the name. United States of America. The 13 colonies. Out of many, one. Out of many states, one country. That is the original meaning. So no, the United States was never intended to be a melting pot. This is a Zionist lie to promote mass migration. I'm sorry I haven't been uploading for a week. I had a couple of things going on, and added to that I'm doing 2 clips a day for my 2 clipping channels. So I have just been neglecting this channel and focusing on other things. The good thing is that I have summer holidays now and can focus on this channel for the next week. I'll try to upload the missing videos by Monday, so this video should be released on Saturday, EuropaFirst episode 24 on Sunday, and EuropaFirst episode 25 on Monday. I would watch those videos since I will be announcing some things there. I'm Slovak Raper and I'll see you tomorrow.